Welcome to Ulua. You live, you work, you art.
If you have been around here, I think I have mentioned that I have several friends that are right now undergoing pain and they are going through difficult situations in life. And I know it's not my obligation to be there for them, to support them, but I really like to do that because they are my friends and because I love them and everything. And some of them are a little bit more private about the things they are going through, and I totally get that because I have had that same experience before. And others are a little bit more open in talking and sharing their thoughts and also their pain, their feelings, their senses, and everything they're going under. And so I was talking the other day to a friend, and I said to her, we should have a club for injured people, because I have all my friends are separate, like one group or one person has this and the other has that, and they are all over the world in different parts. There are some here in the city, but there are also around the world. And I was talking to her and I said, maybe we should gather all together and talk about these things that are going on in our lives. Because even though I am now recovering, hopefully, recovery from pain is not something that you go linearly and you say, okay, today I've been at this point, but maybe tomorrow I will be a little lower, and then I will increase my well-being and that kind of thing. So it's not linear. It's not something that you do and you continue healing just easily, or at least steadily. No, it's something like goes like life itself. It goes and it comes and goes from day to day. And some of them are in the early stages of the pain, and some others are in the middle of a treatment maybe, and some others are like going out. Most of them are like in the early stages or middle ones. And I think in these cases, if you are willing to receive support from others, because sometimes you just can't handle it yourself and you don't even want to talk to others about the things you're going through. So for those ones, I try to be there regularly as when I can. And it's funny because it's not funny, the situations are not funny, of course, but it's funny because most of the people who are willing to talk about things they are going through, and I can see that in myself. This episode, I'm Carol, by the way, I didn't say that. Hello, it's here, we are in Ulua, and this episode will be mostly about pain, but not just grieving or just feeling bad about pain or those kind of things. I think it's more of a reflection of how pain affects us in our daily lives, or bad health, we could say. And also we can talk also about good health and recovery and that kind of thing. And again, I'm not neither a psychologist nor a physician or anything like that. I'm just talking from my experience and from what I see from my friends too. And what I was saying, yes. So when you are in pain, you could have, of course, different type of pain, maybe. And it also, even though we can use in general what physicians tend to do, they say from 1 to 10, what's your level of pain, for example. But for everyone it's different, this level of from 1 to 10, because it depends on your past experience, if you have ever experimented pain before or not, those kind of things. And
yes, I forgot what I was going to tell.
oh yes, so pain is something that not everyone wants to talk about, and it's some kind of taboo, I think, especially nowadays, because people are all the time wanting to be happy for social media, for taking a selfie, and so if you're not happy, you're not supposed to be online. At least that was my experience. I don't know, there might be other experiences that I don't know about, but and also from what I gather, I've been talking to my friends that they are with some kind of pain, most of them don't want to talk about it in I don't know the exact word, but like they are suffering. It's like, yes, you are in pain, but you don't want to show that you're suffering. That was also happened to me. With some of them I have a little bit more closeness, so I can ask them directly and say, but what is that you're feeling? Is like this and this and this, because I have I don't know if luckily is if luck is the word, but I have had everything that my friends are going through right now. I have had in the past, some way or another. In most cases, it has been like, in my case, has been worse than them, and some others. I know it's not. I should not compare that, but just to set the scene here. And in other cases, they are going through a much more worse case. So, what I see is that in the cases they are open to talk about this, they don't want to talk about the suffering, because it seems like if you are suffering, okay, you may be under pain, but suffering is like it's not accepted. And it was the same for me. In my case, I remember I didn't want other people to know that I was really suffering, that the pain was making me, the physical pain was really difficult for me. So I was really suffering, not only having the pain, but also suffering. You know that there is this distinction between pain and suffering. You can be under pain, but maybe not completely suffering through that. Well, in my case I was, but I didn't want people from work. Maybe that is why I was also misunderstood, or there were some misunderstandings at work, because I didn't want to show that during my hours of work. But as soon as I would hang out the telephone, I would just lie down and cry here on the floor. So what I've seen, for example, talking to friends, they try to, I don't know if the word is minimize, but they want to show that suffering. They say, oh yes, it's hurting now, for example, my knee or whatever it is that they have, or my head. But it's like they are, and that was also my case, like they are ashamed of saying I'm suffering, it's hurting so bad, and those kind of things. So it's like suffering is just for your private, super private sphere, maybe just you. And if you live with somebody else, you and the other person knows what's really happening. And I get it, that's private, and that's perfectly fine for everyone to decide if they want to share or not about these kind of things. And at the same time, I cannot help but think that this has to do with this era of, again, selfies and social media, but also another thing that we've been undergoing for like 30 years or so. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have some people that I knew that were really in very bad conditions. and they were really suffering, and you sometimes could hear them scream because they were under so much pain. But today it's like that is not accepted, at least not socially. And I was going to talk about spirituality. I think that spirituality, quote unquote, is something that is not completely helping us in this way, because we, and I have also talked a little bit about this in the previous episode, but toxic spirituality and spiritual bypassing. But want to go a little bit more deeper into that. Even though, for example, the Buddhist religion, I know people don't want to call it a religion, but if you go to India and the places where Buddhism is a thing, they call it a religion. So these type of religions, they say that we as humans suffer. Even Taoism and maybe all those Asian, I don't know all, but many of those Asian religions said that we suffer because we are human and we have pains and we have things going on in our lives and we have so many things. And yes, pain and suffering is a thing. And even though I say this religion, I don't know, there are several, or there are yoga practitioners, for example, they are not supposed to say that they are under pain. They are supposed to say, no, this pain, I'm not saying yoga specifically, I'm saying this type of spirituality, at least in the West, where we misunderstand everything. I've heard, for example, no, but because this, you have to see this as a gift, and you are making it worse because you feel the suffering. If you don't feel the suffering, then you wouldn't feel that much pain, or which I think it's completely nonsense. Or because we have been taught that illness have learnings for us, they are a blessing, that they come, and we are so lucky because we have this illness, and so we can learn so many things. Or because we have a contract with our soul from past lives, and I don't know what else. So, and it's okay if you're not, I mean, it doesn't hurt if you are not hurting. This kind of belief, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but I think when you are really hurting and you cannot say I'm suffering, and this is again, now I can reflect upon that because I see that also in my friends. They say, no, yes, I have some pain, and I know it's not just some pain, I know it's deep, and I know it's horrible because I have also had those same things, and maybe a little bit less than them in some cases. But they say, no, but I'm okay, everything will be fine, and I have to be happy, and I have to keep up my spirit. And so it seems like suffering and maybe crying and maybe shouting out or being angry because you're not feeling good is not a good thing. That's what I gather in general from having like 10 cases right now in different friends. So I think that is why so many people is and again, this is again my experience, and maybe I'm talking about my friends, but maybe that's not their perspective. I will know later. That we are trying to say that suffering is not a thing in our lives, and it is. And I think at work, for example, it is looked upon. People look at you like, stop talking if you are telling, for example, about somebody has died in your family. So you have, here in Argentina, for example, you have like 2 days if they are a close relative, or 3 days, something like this, and you have to come back to work like if nothing happened, because you are another cog in the machine, and you can have feelings, or you can be depressed, or you can be, so you have to continue producing. And of course I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's not that exactly right, or at least not in all shops, but I think people is getting on one side, if you had a problem, or if you're feeling these kind of things, you feel like you don't have to share with the others, because the others will be apart from you, because it is felt in the ambient, in the environment. You can feel that when you have those kind of things, and especially if you have, and I have, and the friends I'm talking about, and also my case, was a long-term illness and a long-term suffering period, we could say, and this is not really understood. And again, I totally get that people don't understand this, because they have never had something like this, maybe, or maybe they just had 1 or 2 days and everything was just passed by and they were okay again. But I don't know, I was just reflecting about this kind of thing, that suffering is not really allowed to be felt or to be talked about. And the good thing, if now I can say I have a good learning out of all these bad experiences, but at the time, if you told me that, I was about to cast, I would have maybe be angry at you if you said something like that, because yes, I know illnesses and everything have a learning in the long term, but in the moment you are feeling them, please don't say that to a person that's hurting, because it's unbearable. And even though in I have had this from people that they call themselves empathetic too. They say, no, I'm an empathetic person, I totally understand how people feel and that kind of thing, but when you tell them, well, I have this and this and this and this and this, they will completely disconnect from you. And I have seen this from so many people. So right now what I do is like and that was in the first place why I decided not to tell people how I was really feeling, because I knew they didn't care. First of all, they didn't get it, they had never had the same problem, and or they would say, just take a pill and everything will be fine, and that was not the case. And so this, I think this is what I'm saying mostly to my friends, and I have also said to them, okay, maybe you don't want to talk right now, maybe you don't feel like it right now, but I'm here if you want to talk. If you want to talk, if you need some kind of support, because I've been there. And of course, and I think that's the good part and the learning that I had from these experiences, not only this last one, but maybe in the past, that I have had this, so I can understand and they can talk openly with me, and maybe I can ask specific questions and also suggest things that may work or may not work, but they can try if they feel like it. And just by having someone to share with is really, really important, because otherwise it stays all in your body, it stays all in you. If you don't want to talk to a friend, go to a therapist or someone else who can help you, but I think that's really important to do. And actually, one of my friends the other day said, "Oh, that it's so nice to be able to talk to somebody who really gets this thing that I'm going through, because um, all the other people are saying, or they are looking like she's exaggerating, or like she's lying even to get out of work, those kind of things." And so that's when I mentioned we should form a club of people with pain and things, because we need this kind of support, right? Um, and maybe, as I said before, maybe I'm not every day talking to my friends, because I also still have my things to go on with. But just knowing the other person is there is really, really important. And well, I think I just wanted to make a rant. I hope that you don't take it as a rant, just plainly. It's more like a reflection on how we avoid saying we are suffering. We avoid saying we have cried, or we have been anger. Anger is another issue. Apparently, every bad emotions are not good for social media, are not good for and also the opposite is true. Sorry, it's not that they are not good. I mean, just talking about the thing in a more neutral way, I say, because I have seen other people saying, "Oh, but this and this and this and this," and maybe my first episode was some kind of that, because I was still in so much pain. But I don't want to make it my identity, right? Though I have again had a lot of things in my life before, and I have so many learnings about that. I don't want to make that part of my identity, in the sense of this is in the past. This can happen to everyone, and I hope it doesn't happen to any one of you or anybody in the world, because it's really terrible. But it can happen because it's part of life. And maybe you won't have this kind of injury, but you maybe had some other type of injury, and shit happens. Life is life. But what I find at least interesting, we could say it as a neutral word, is that we avoid talking about these topics, or we make that those things our identity. For example, like I see a lot of videos about I had to deal with a narcissist and those kind of things, and we make that, oh, I'm a victim of narcissism, or I am a victim of this and this and this and that, and you just stay in that place like the victim. And even though it may sound like this sometimes, because I just talk to you once a week, it may sound like it, but I'm trying not to. I hope I don't sound like that. If I do, I don't intend to do that. I just want to talk about, again, suffering just the most neutral way possible. And though suffering is part of our identity as humans, because everyone suffers once in a while. We have things going in life, so we can't avoid that, and it's inevitable. Just don't take lightly this saying that says, "Oh, you can be in pain but don't suffer." Maybe you can, maybe you can't. So if you can't, it's okay too. That's what I want to say. That's my message. So I did rant a lot of time and rambled a lot and withered, but that's what I wanted to say. If it's okay to be in pain, it's okay to suffer. If you can't avoid it, as I imagine most of us will have situations in life. And it's okay to say that. And again, maybe not to everyone, because not everyone will understand, but find someone who really cares about you and treasure them. That would be my advice, as I treasure my friends, the ones who've been there. So yeah, that's it. I don't think it needs more explanation than that. So thank you for being here, and I hope if you find anything resemblance in your life about this and what I've talked about, comment what was your case if you want to, and if you feel understood by the people that were around you or not, and share it and whatever you need to do. And if you want, also you can invite me for a coffee, and I really appreciate that you being here, especially, and supporting the channel also. So thank you very much, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Stay tuned for Ulua's next episode.